Welcome to the Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there and welcome to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And what a week we have astrologically speaking. Huge, huge news that we only get every few years. So first up, we've got the astro headline of the week, which many, many astrologers have been anticipating for a really, really long time, and that is Saturn, planet of karma, responsibility, discipline, hard work, moving into its home sign of Capricorn, where it will be until December 2020. Now, just know that Saturn has not been in Capricorn since 1991. That's a really, really long time ago. And if you were born around 1991, you will be celebrating your Saturn return. Also this week we had a new moon in Sagittarius. That was on Sunday, which I will cover a bit later in the show. Also this week, we are celebrating the sun moving into Capricorn, and I will dedicate this show to all you Capricorns out there. So I will give you a little bit of background about Capricorn, and also the favorite thing of all, which I do each month when I talk about the sun moving into a sign, is talk about compatibility. So if you're a Capricorn or you are fortunate enough to have a Capricorn in your life, then this show is for you. And coinciding with the sun moving into Capricorn is the solstice. So in the northern hemisphere, we're celebrating the winter solstice. And if you happen to be in the southern hemisphere, you will be celebrating the summer solstice this week, which occurs on Thursday. But of course, if you are in the summer hemisphere. If you are in the southern hemisphere, then the solstice might be occurring for you on Friday, depending on which time zone you are in. So without further ado, let's launch straight into what it means having Saturn, Lord of Karma, moving into Capricorn, where it will be until December 2020. So the last time that Saturn was in Capricorn was February 1988 until February 1991. So that was about 30 years ago. And that is the cycle of Saturn. Every 29 and a half years, it takes to go through the whole zodiac. And Saturn is known as Lord of Karma, Father of Time. Saturn's a bit of a downer. It restricts our fun time. Basically, it's chores before fun when Saturn is involved. So the time before that, I just said that Saturn, the last time it was in Capricorn was February 1988 until February 1991. And the time before that was January 1959 through January 1962. So if you're born during either one of those periods, you are having a Saturn return over the next few years. And so what that means is Saturn returns to exactly the same spot of when you were born, and you will be going through major life events. And typically having a Saturn return is really huge news in astrology, and probably one of the biggest events that can happen. So you'll be going through your Saturn return. The first Saturn return is usually, and you know, not for everybody, but this is just generalizing, but usually people get married or they have their baby or some major life event happens at the time of the Saturn return. And that's usually the first Saturn return. The second Saturn return happens when you're about 58 and a half, 59. And usually what happens is the things that you didn't get right the first time around come back around on your second Saturn return. Things that might be open-ended or not completed, or things that you didn't quite learn from, or you didn't make the right choices, they come back again. Anyway, so Saturn is all about responsibility, restriction, obligation, duty, karma. The rewards do come with Saturn, but you have to work really hard before you can get those or earn those rewards. And actually a key word for Saturn, no matter what sign it's in, is always patience. And I've learnt that one the hard way. Anyway, so Saturn, it restricts, it disciplines, it wears away. And unlike Pluto, it doesn't obliterate, or it's not something sudden like Uranus. Think of Saturn as eroding over time. Saturn, I guess, would be like the rust. I'm trying to think of something funny to do with rust. You know, rust comes about because it erodes over time. Saturn's a little bit like that. It's not anything sudden or unexpected. It's just this thing that just keeps going and going. So it's not necessarily a destroyer, and it can strengthen and solidify whatever passes its test. So Saturn is a teacher, and unlike Jupiter, it's not a cool teacher. Think of it like the teacher that you had in school that was a really hard grader, but when you look back on it, it's sort of like you learned a lot, but you learned it the hard way. So Saturn makes you learn and earn. There's a good way of thinking of it. When it comes together in its home sign of Capricorn, which means Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Capricorn's very determined, ambitious, hardworking, and also very practical, methodical. And Capricorn leads by example. And Saturn teaches by example, I guess, is one way of thinking about it. So we are on the 19th, which is tomorrow. Saturn is going to be moving into its home sign of Capricorn, and that's occurring at 8:48 p.m. Pacific, 11:48 p.m. Eastern Time. Not that any of these astrological influences occur like right at the minute that it's happening, but sometimes depending on, you know, where the influence sits, you might really feel it. If you're a sensitive type of person, you might feel the shift when Saturn moves into Capricorn tomorrow. And specifically, if you are an early cardinal sign, and an early cardinal sign are people born, Aries born in March, Cancer's born in June, and Librans born in September, and Capricorn's born in December especially. So that means that Saturn, when it moves into Capricorn, it's going to be triggering your sun sign, especially if you were born early on in that sign. So Saturn is going to be leaving Sagittarius and entering Capricorn, and Saturn is the natural ruler of Capricorn. It's a planet of responsibility, restriction, karma, discipline. And so it also strengthens and solidifies, so it's not all doom and gloom as much as it has a pretty bad reputation amongst astrologers. It can really bring people down. But luckily, it's its cycle is not as long as Pluto, thankfully. So when you're in a Pluto transit, the cycle can go for years and years and years. The transit, when the planets move backwards and forwards. So with Saturn, really, it's like it'd be a year maximum, if that. That particularly if it's connecting with an inner planet or a personal planet, which is basically the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, possibly Mars. But really with Pluto, for example, as a comparison with a Pluto transit, it's like there's no escaping. It's like, and it just takes years and years. In this case with Saturn, it's not as bad, if that helps in any way, shape or form at all. So with Saturn, though, Saturn's about achieving real practical goals. So Saturn is very much about setting long-term plans. I've been telling a lot of people in my readings lately that it's really crucial that we set long-term goals, long-term plans. Think 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. There's no such thing as too far away or too far into the distance. It's all about thinking and focusing on the long term and taking baby steps, step by step, to get to whatever the end goal is, no matter how long it takes. Now think about the symbol of Saturn in Capricorn. So you've got the mountain goat, or really technically it's the sea goat. So the symbol of Capricorn, and of course Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, is this little sea goat from the very bottom of the sea, making his way all to the very top of the mountain, and that could just take a lifetime. And that's what Capricorn is about. That's what Saturn is about. It's about having long-term goals and climbing that mountain, no matter how high that mountain may be. So on that note, I'm going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I am your host and astrologer Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week, and there is so much going on that I can't believe that I didn't mention that Saturn is moving out of retrograde, which is always usually the headline, but there's just so much other stuff happening. So on Friday, Mercury will no longer be retrograde. That is also huge news. Okay, so back to Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn's moving into Capricorn this week, where it will be for the next 3 years. Now, this is really big news in the astrological world, Saturn in Capricorn. So Saturn in Capricorn is, it's all about not being forced, but our choices over the next few years should be about taking the high road. It's definitely about people being wise and experienced, and it's about maturity and our expertise. It's a good time with Saturn in Capricorn to honour our elders and accept aging as normal, because sometimes in our culture and society, it's all about being ageless and looking as young as possible. And it's also about being very organised, methodical, practical, traditional. Saturn likes the things that stand the test of time. And also we may see a return to traditional pursuits. And the interesting thing is next year we've got a couple of influences with Saturn in Capricorn, especially next August. We've got this grand Earth trine which involves the Sun, Saturn in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus. So even though it's like Saturn in Capricorn is about returning to the traditional or the tried and true, when it comes together with Uranus and Taurus, it's all about bringing the old together with the new. So this should be really interesting times for us because Saturn in Capricorn is traditionally old-fashioned or looking to the past or how things have been done previously. So it might be let's look to the past to improve on the future, that type of thing. Now, Saturn in Capricorn, it's very much about the taskmaster, and that sort of scares people off. Saturn can be very stern, sometimes even like guilt-inspiring, so making us feel bad if we sit down on the couch and put our feet up for 10 minutes. It's not necessarily about working 24/7, but it's definitely about taking care of our responsibilities. Sometimes Saturn can feel like the parental figure in our lives, maybe a little bit too severe or the strict parent. Maybe even Saturn might be looking on disapprovingly until we return to our duties. It's like there could be a saying, all work, no play makes Jack or Jill a dull boy or girl, that type of thing. But Saturn really is about karma and our destiny. So it's sort of like wrapping things up about things that might be open-ended. So it's about doing the right thing, really, is the summary of Saturn in Capricorn, and thinking through our long-term goals, thinking through where we want to go in the future, where we want to be. So how will Saturn in Capricorn be affecting your sign? I'm going to run through this really quickly because I have so much for this show going on this week. So if you're an Aries, Saturn in Capricorn will be affecting your career. So it might be a time, if you're not happy in the current job that you're in or the role, look for something more stable, more long-term, and definitely don't buck the system when Saturn is in Capricorn, and respect your elders and the boss and supervisors and people in authority. If you're a Taurus, for you, this is about taking care of legalities over the next 3 years when Saturn is in Capricorn, and anything to do with overseas or faraway places. If you are a Gemini, this is about money, but bigger money like taxes, inheritance, insurance, that type of thing, and taking care of these things will be really important. If you're a Cancer, the interesting focus for you is on your marriage or your business partnerships or your close relationships. So with Saturn in Capricorn, there's going to be some things to work out in your relationships. If you're a Leo, it's time to get really serious about your diet, your fitness, daily routines. You might be taking on a whole lot more during the next few years. If you're a Virgo, romance won't be light and fluffy, and there might be some karma around children in your life. If you're a Libra, this for you, Saturn in Capricorn is all about home and family and parents and ancestors. If you're thinking about moving, it will be maybe a long-term move. If you're thinking about solidifying the foundations of your home or remodeling, really don't expect fast results. If you're a Scorpio, this is all about the intellect and thought processes and learning and communication. There also might be some karma there with your siblings or neighbours. If you are a Sagittarius, there's a seriousness for you around finances over the next 3 years. This is a time to really have a long-term financial plan. And if you are a Capricorn, all eyes will be on you as somebody who leads others. You might get a promotion over the next few years into a managerial role. If you're an Aquarius, the important thing for you over the next few years is paying attention to your intuition, but in a very grounded way. It's important to be very grounded during the next few years. And finally, if you are a Pisces, a sweet Pisces, there's going to be karma for you around friends and acquaintances and groups that you're part of, both online and offline. Okay, next up we have the Sun moving into Capricorn. Oh, and by the way, the Sun moving into Capricorn hooks up with Saturn and also Venus. So this is an interesting time, more so than usual around long-term planning. And it's a great time for cementing relationships or taking a relationship to the next level, particularly if you are an early cardinal sign, and that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, and you're born at the very beginning of those signs. So, Sun in Capricorn. The Sun moves into Capricorn, where it will be until January 19th. And so while the Sun is in Capricorn, many of us might feel driven to succeed, very ambitious, working long hours, even though, yes, this is the holiday season. But this is a time when you can get things done, get things finished, projects through to completion, move on to the next thing. But try not to sacrifice too much and don't burn the candle at both ends because there's a lot of pressure when the Sun's in Capricorn. It's very much about responsibilities, but also our own responsibilities and maybe pushing ourselves too hard. Many of us will definitely be driven to succeed when the Sun is in Capricorn. Our standards might be really, really high with the Sun in Capricorn, and if we don't meet the goals that we set for ourselves, there might be some melancholy because we've just maybe set impossibly high standards. As I said, this show is dedicated to all you Capricorns out there. And so what that means is that we will be in the month of Capricorn. And everything is about Capricorn. So it's all about long-term goals, finding success, as well as working hard and achieving will be very, very important. Now, Capricorn is an earth sign. The other earth signs are Taurus and Virgo. And Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are very practical, solid, steady signs. Very solid, steady signs. They like to have a plan typically. They're very good with money usually. So it's all about setting long-term financial goals and having long-term plans. Now, Capricorn is a cardinal sign. And the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And they're the self-starters of the zodiac. So they're the ones that get stuff done. The other thing is that they move on quite quickly to the next thing, but they're very much the instigators and the trendsetters. So Capricorn is very much a cardinal sign. And so during this season with the Sun in Capricorn, many of us will be wanting to start something new. And of course, it's no coincidence that the start of the year is all about setting new intentions and manifesting what we want for the coming year. So there is no coincidence that Capricorn is a cardinal sign and it's all about new beginnings, getting new stuff done, basically. So as I promised, and every show, I always talk about the current signs compatibility. So if you are a Capricorn and an Aries couple, at first glance, you two seem like you have absolutely nothing in common, because you are forming a square, but you're actually both cardinal signs. So Aries is very much, Aries is a fire sign, so Aries likes to dive into something without any forethought or pre-planning, whereas Capricorn loves to plan far, far into the future. So the thing that you do have in common, though, you're both driven and ambitious, and you both are known to have single-minded intensity. So that's what brings you together. But how you get there is two different ways. And if I think of Aries and Capricorn together, I think of the tortoise and the hare, which makes me laugh because Aries is somebody that has no patience, where Capricorn is a very, very patient sign. So in some ways it's like there's a lot of similarities, and in other ways it seems like there's nothing in common at all. Capricorn and Taurus, well, you're both earth signs, and, you know, the key to compatibility in astrology is if you're of the same element, then that's just a natural compatibility right there. So you're both industrious, known to be conservative, and of course your relationship gets better with age. There might be a focus there on the material side of life, but if you're both in agreement, then hey, what's the problem? Capricorn and Gemini, well, this is a really interesting combination. I think what you do have in common, though, is your dry sense of humour, and both of you are very resourceful, but in different ways. Not much common ground there, because these two signs are quincunx. And on that note, I'm going to take a break, and I will continue right after the break, so stay tuned.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi there, thanks for joining me. This is the Astrology Show, and I am your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox, talking about Capricorn. So just before the break, I was talking about Capricorn compatibility, and I was just talking about Capricorn and Gemini. It's a quincunx. These two signs have karma to work out. So if you're a Gemini and a Capricorn, there's some sort of karma that you need to work through this lifetime. If you are a Capricorn and a Cancer, well, the golden rule of astrology is always opposite signs attract. Capricorn and Cancer are opposite in the zodiac, and you two make a really great combination for the long term. And it's all about pulling together really well as a family unit. Capricorn will be obviously more ambitious, but when you can make it work, it's a really, really great match. Capricorn and Leo. Now, this is another quincunx. So it's sort of like there's karma to work out between you, but you're both very ambitious. That's one thing. And in some ways, you really do connect and understand each other. Leo could be a bit extravagant. Capricorn can be a little bit frugal. that might be the only really contention between you. But definitely there is karma between these two signs to work out. Capricorn and Virgo, again, the golden rule, you're both earth signs. So this is a really great match to start. You might share similar values and goals, and it might feel as though your relationship was just destined to be. So it's a really, really great match between Capricorn and Virgo. And you're both sort of thrifty. Well, no, not Capricorn so much, but in some ways, yes. Capricorn and Libra, you two are really different. You're both cardinal signs. So there is a little bit of a clash there. But you are, as I said before, you're both trendsetters. You like to initiate, get things going. Really, in some ways, you have expensive taste. But Libra is a little bit more artistically minded than Capricorn. And Libra will appreciate Capricorn's ambition because, it pays the bills. So that's always good, right? But really, there's some things to overcome. Of course, this is just sun sign compatibility. So, for example, if Capricorn has a Libra moon, Libra has a Capricorn moon, you're a match made in heaven. But typically, Capricorn and Libra, both cardinal, things to work through. Capricorn and Scorpio, this is a really, really great match. You make a good team. There's a lot of admiration and respect between you. You have sometimes ambitious, security-seeking natures, and you've got some fundamental values that really connect. Although on the other side, these two signs are known to be a little bit controlling, maybe a bit rigid in the thinking. Scorpio is definitely emotionally intense. Capricorn can be a little bit aloof when it comes to emotions, but overall, an unbeatable team. Capricorn and Sag, interesting combination. These two are next to each other in the zodiac. Sag is very unconventional, undisciplined, thrives on freedom, maybe risk-taking, and Capricorn is none of those things. So, again, you probably have, the inner planets in each other's sign, so that's probably why you can make this work. Now, Capricorn and Capricorn together, this is a really, really interesting combination. And I'm just trying to think through if I ever read for two Capricorns. Nobody comes to mind. But you would work hard at everything, and you would have shared goals and ambitions. Materialism would be very important for this couple, both ruled by Saturn, of course, so you're serious-minded, responsible, practical. You can depend on each other. It's actually a really good connection, unless, of course, the moon signs are not compatible or they're in disharmonious signs. Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, this is a really interesting combination, and I have done quite a few readings for couples that are Capricorn and Aquarius, and at first glance, it's like, what do these two have in common? The thing is, they're both ruled by Saturn. And you're thinking, wait a minute, isn't Aquarius ruled by Uranus? Which, yes, it is, but it's sub-ruled by Saturn. So that's the common thread between Capricorn and Aquarius. So you both can be a little bit aloof when it comes to emotions, separate, detached. But really, if you have a common long-term goal, Capricorn and Aquarius work really well together. And you're both not going to give up easily on the relationship or anything else. And finally, Capricorn and Pisces. This is a really, really great combination. Capricorn's very practical and materialistic and sensible, and Pisces is very emotional and sensitive. So you two make a really, really great, well-rounded team together. But Capricorn is a patient sign, but sometimes needs a little bit of extra patience with Pisces, because Pisces is really not materialistic at all, and Capricorn is. That could be the only issue, but generally this is a really, really nice combination. Okay, moving right along this week, as I said before, when the Sun moves into Capricorn, it coincides with the solstice. Now, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to be celebrating the winter solstice on Thursday. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're going to be celebrating the southern solstice. Wow, we're still in Mercury retrograde, so I'm a bit, my tongue is a bit tired. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's the winter solstice. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the summer solstice. So every year, on or around December 21st, the sun, as I said, coincides with Capricorn, and the sun rises and sets at the greatest southern distance from the equator. Okay, that's gobbledygook, really technical stuff that you don't need to worry about. But basically, if you are in the northern hemisphere, then the solstice means it's the longest day, the shortest day of the year. And if you're in the southern hemisphere celebrating the summer solstice, then you're celebrating the longest day of the year. And that's it. And when you get to the equinox, which is the halfway point between the solstices, then the days are equal. So you will be enjoying, as I happen to know, some really nice weather this time of year in the southern hemisphere. Now, the winter solstice is an interesting time of year because it's the festival of light. So basically, it's the darkest time of the year in the northern hemisphere, and so we celebrate with light. So if you're out and about at nighttime, you'll see people have lights all over their houses. Some of them pretty extreme, but it's really a celebration because it's the darkest time of the year. Now, there's a lot of religions and faiths that really celebrate this time of year around the winter solstice. And, of course, and then we have the celebration New Year's Eve moving into the next year. So really the winter solstice is basically the start of the cycle. And so that's why the beginning of the year, the beginning of the calendar year coincides with the solstice. And so it's a celebration of moving into something new. And as I said before, it coincides with Capricorn. Capricorn's a cardinal sign, and it's all about new beginnings. So it's basically, people are thinking about, the year that we've just had, so 2017, what happened this year. Was it a year to remember? Was it a year that things didn't actually go the way you wanted? So 2018 or whatever year we move into, it's sort of like a time of hope. It's a time of hope. People set their New Year's resolutions around this time as well. And so it's all about moving into a new cycle. And many of us can really do it this time because with Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn is all about long-term goals. And it's all about actually having the gumption to get there, actually having the gumption to see it through and not just quitting or giving up. It's like many of us are going to be facing our own selves, the authority within ourselves to really stand by what we say and what we're going to do. It's actually really interesting, Saturn in Capricorn at this time of year, to set our New Year's resolutions and make long-term commitments. And that's in any area of life whatsoever. And I went through the signs before, what area of life Saturn in Capricorn will be affecting you. So it's really, really important to set long-term goals and plans. That's what Saturn in Capricorn will require of us. And don't expect instant results. That's the other thing. It's like we have to be patient. And I know that's very hard, especially if you're a fire sign, and that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Patience is hard to come by sometimes, but it would be really important. Also this week, new moon in Sagittarius. So that happens every year, so there's nothing different about that. But this time around, this new moon in Sagittarius sits right at the galactic center. What does that mean? Well, it's sort of like the core of the galaxy. It's the core of who we are, the core of what we're about. And this new moon, which is all about new beginnings, just like Saturn in Capricorn and being in a cardinal sign as Capricorn as well. It's all about new beginnings. So I always harp on and say you can't have a new beginning until you have an ending. So what needs to happen at this time of year, especially with Mercury retrograde on our side, believe it or not, until the end of the week, is wrapping things up. It's like finishing things off. Don't have things lingering in through the new year. There are so many influences at this time that has us wrapping things up or completing things. So it's really, really important to not have anything open-ended and to come to completion. Mercury moved retrograde on the 2nd of December, and it was at 29 degrees Sagittarius, which is also sort of like a double whammy about completing things or things coming back to us from the past that need to be completed. And with all these influences going on, you know, Saturn being at the very last degree of Sagittarius before it moves into Capricorn tomorrow, it really is about completion. So that's the theme, particularly around this new moon that's sitting at the galactic center. So what this means is with the new moon in Sagittarius, it's all about let's not be dogmatic about the beliefs that we've been holding on to, and let's be like more open-minded and philosophical at this time. Now, there is a bit of a conflict of energies going on because Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius is all about not wanting to pay attention to the detail. The new moon in Sagittarius is all about looking at the big picture as well. But it's things that are coming back to us that need fixing or redoing or re-editing. It's that type of influence going on. We definitely have a mixed bag of energies this week. And on that note, I'm going to take a short break, so stay tuned.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer Kelly Fox, talking about the planets this week. And there is just so much to say. There is so much going on. More than usual. And of course, the big news of the week, the month, maybe the year, is Saturn moving into Capricorn. Now, Saturn is the planet of discipline and responsibility. It's long-term planning. It rules the sign of Capricorn, so it's moving into its own sign of Capricorn, and that is happening tomorrow So we are at this time in the very, very final stages of Saturn in Sagittarius. Now, that's a huge relief for all you mutable signs out there, especially if you were born at the end of the mutable sign, and that's Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. You've had Saturn really breathing down your neck lately when it's being in Sagittarius, but then tomorrow on, Saturn moves into Capricorn. So also this week, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show because I was just so distracted with Saturn moving into Capricorn, but Mercury, planet of communication, finally turns direct. It has been retrograde since December 2nd. So what that means is Mercury is planet of the mind. It's how we think. It's how we communicate, how we speak. It has been retrograde. And I'm always amazed at how many people out there, they don't know very much about astrology, but they all seem to know about Mercury retrograde, and I guess for good reason. So Mercury has been retrograde since December 2nd. It's been in Sagittarius. It's really been wreaking havoc for anybody born in a late mutable sign, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, because Saturn has also been in late Sagittarius, traveling along there with Mercury in Sagittarius. So things have been going haywire. Maybe authorities been really getting heavy with many of us, and also it's forcing us to look at the big picture and look at things from a higher point of view rather than being caught up in the details. But really, the details are what matter anytime Mercury is involved, even though it's in Sagittarius, which is typically the sign of the philosopher and the brainstormer, and not really thinking through those boring sort of details. I think the past few weeks, many of us have been caught up with not double-checking the facts and figures. Anyway, moving right along. Oh, so just to end that, because I know I've been going on about new moon, we're going to have endings before we can have our new beginnings, complete things, wrap things up. Tonight would be a crucial time to do that as Saturn is in its final moments of Sagittarius, and then tomorrow evening it's moving into Capricorn, and that is definitely something to celebrate. Saturn likes being in Capricorn. It did not like being in Sagittarius. The planets, as I say a lot, they have their favorite signs and then they have their least favorite signs. And Saturn's favorite sign is Capricorn. So the other influences this week, on Wednesday, we have Venus trine Uranus. That's very nice. Very nice for the fire signs especially. Venus in Sagittarius is forming a trine, which is a good angle to Uranus in Aries. So if you're a fire sign, and that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, this is good news for you. So what this means is when Venus trines Uranus, it's about surprises when it comes to relationships, but good surprises, not bad surprises, because it's a trine. So it's a good time to meet people from different places or people you normally wouldn't meet or run into. And you might be more open to meeting unusual types of people. You might also maybe want to make some sort of dramatic change to your own appearance or something different, like a makeover with a new wardrobe that you normally wouldn't really even consider previously. So many of us will be on the lookout for something different or someone different or something extraordinary. We're looking for excitement. We're looking to jazz up the relationship that we're having. This is not a time where people are bored or it's a stale relationship. On Thursday, as I said, the Sun moves into Capricorn, and then the Sun conjuncts Saturn in Capricorn. So what that means is that we've got the solstice happening on the 21st, so that's definitely a time to celebrate. But the Sun will conjunct Saturn. So this is a very, very good day to set long-term goals and intentions. It's a time for self-discipline, for ambition, hard work, even though we're in the holiday season. Many of us will be working really hard and thinking about our long-term goals. Responsibility is the key word with its influence when the Sun conjunct Saturn. Many of us are going to be self-managing. It's a good time to sort of tackle mundane sort of tasks or jobs, like the filing, things that are not, it sounds sort of boring, but this is a really great time to do it because if you think about that movie, The Karate Kid, and when he was doing like wax on, wax off, and he was sort of saying, well, why am I doing this? This is the time when you'll know what you'll be doing and why you're doing it, and it's sort of building and working to the long term. It's a good time for business meetings, even though a lot of people are distracted with the holiday season. It's also if you're a builder or a creator, building things of a practical nature, high quality and long lasting. It's all about being realistic. So this time of year is definitely about being realistic, more so than usual, because of the influence of Saturn in Capricorn. Okay, now for your weekly horoscope, and there is so much going on. But of course, with these weekly horoscopes, the focus is really all about Saturn in Capricorn. So if you're an Aries, you might be feeling a little bit of pressure career-wise, and that's because of Saturn in your house of status and career. It's time to stop sort of playing around and start working hard. You'll enjoy this time, the holiday time, but plan to be very busy when it comes to your career and getting ahead and getting what you want from a job point of view. If you're a Taurus, think about what you need to learn, because Saturn asks you to consider your education and to think ahead to 2018 in terms of courses you might want to take or skills you should develop to help with your long-term plans. This is the time, the next few years, to really take your talents to the next level. If you're a Gemini, intimacy could be a hot topic between you and your partner, and you'll need to have some honest and open communication. So make sure this holiday period you spend plenty of time together and avoid too much of a focus on other people. Just think about you and your relationship. If you are a Cancer, hopefully this holiday period won't put too much of a strain on your relationship because Saturn is now in your house of love. And so things that, little things that you might have been putting up with in your relationship, you might not be able to over the coming years. But just remember, if you're in a relationship, cut your significant other some slack for this holiday period. So if you're a Leo, you might feel like there's too many responsibilities going on. Everyone else is having fun and you're stuck there dealing with stuff. So try not to let Saturn damper your holiday spirit. But here's the thing, you don't have to do everything yourself. Be sure to delegate, which you're so good at doing. If you are a Virgo, Saturn might pour a little bit of cold water over your house of fun, but you can find joy in other ways. And, yours is the sign of service. So helping in your community will be very satisfying. Helping others or being the shoulder other people want to cry on is definitely a way to go. If you are a Libra, there might be some nostalgia during this holiday period, which is not unusual at this time of year. It's a good use of taking a trip down memory lane. But be sure to come back to the present as well. Don't live in the past, Libra. What's important will be to be in the here and now, and maybe use tried and true approaches from past or family sort of traditions will be a good use of this energy. If you are a Scorpio, you're certainly getting through your to-do list at a really fast pace, and nobody is more efficient or organized than you this holiday season. But you need to find some sparkle. It's sort of like you're sort of going through the motions, but there's no joy to be had. It's sort of like there's a lot that you're juggling at this time, and you can do it. You're a fixed sign. You can manage. So don't get so caught up, Scorpio, in the details that you forget to have some fun. If you are a Sagittarius, Saturn turns his attention to your finances. So cutting back on spending right as the most expensive time of year looms, which is, yes, now. Maybe you don't have to be the big spender that you're known for, but turn to homemade holiday gifts or budget ideas for inspiration. And okay, it sounds cliche, but it truly is the thought that counts. If you are a Capricorn, well, Saturn, your ruling planet, is very much at home in your sign, so you're feeling empowered and positive this week, looking forward to the future and everything that is available to you, potentially. So there are exciting plans afoot for the next year, and you can hardly wait to get started. But the key word for Saturn is patience, so enjoy the holiday season first. If you are an Aquarian, turn your focus inwards this week and explore what the holiday season means to you spiritually. And if you are a Pisces, don't feel that you are forced to socialize this week. You can limit your social interactions without being rude or ungrateful, and you'd much rather spend your time with those that you love. That's it from me. Wishing you all the best for the holiday season. Happy New Year and happy Saturn in Capricorn.